This is MaintSmart cmms-software evaluation video number 5. In this one we're going to cover the 7 different ways of creating work orders. Now we can create work orders manually, semi-automatically, and fully automatically in MaintSmart. So I'm going to start with creating a manual work order. So I just click New, and the only required fields are the ones that are red. And I'll go ahead and choose a task, put a technician on there, and we'll give it a priority and a type. Okay, so good enough. I'll go ahead and save that. And so there's one way to create a work order, the manual way. All right, we can edit this work order by selecting it, and we can add some detailed instructions to it if we'd like. We can type those in here, copy and paste them, or we could go to a file that already has a list of procedures, for example, and we could go ahead and copy that right in there. I'll go ahead and format this a little bit, make it a little tighter. Okay. All right. So we could also add file attachments, and these file attachments can be any type of file there is. There's really no limit on this. So it could be a web page, it could be a rich text, Microsoft Word, really anything. So I'll go ahead and just throw this in here. In this case, it's a rich text file, and I'll save that. All right, so I have this work order. It has, quite a few bells and whistles on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate a semi-automatic way to create a work order in MaintSmart. So say, for example, we have this 90-degree roller bed work order here that we need to do, and we actually, in fact, let me change this to a preventive maintenance. This might make a little more sense. We'll call it a PM work order, and say we want to continue doing PMs on this, but we want to do it on, say, for example, the number 2 roller bed. So we can select this row with a left mouse click, right click, and then pick duplicate. Now after it's duplicated, we have an exact copy. We can simply select the new one and change it to roller bed number 2 and then save it. Now we've got identical work order for each equipment item. Alright, so another semi-automatic way that we can create a work order is from the downtime screen. So I'll go to the downtime screen, I'll click the new button, I'll pick this roller bed, and then I'll pick a cause for the breakdown. And I'll just say actuator failed or broken. Simple enough. I'll give it some time down, some repair time, some impact time. Okay, so I have all the components of my downtime. I think I'll also go in here and add some comments. Okay. All right, so at this point I will save it, but before I do that I'm going to check this checkbox, Auto Create Work Order Record. I think I'll also come up here and go to my print options and say Print Work Order on Save. So if we do indeed get a work order created that is going to be a remedial work order to this breakdown that we're entering now, or this downtime, it will automatically come up in a print preview or go to our printer, as the case may be. I click Save. Okay, so when I click Save, MaintSmart looked and it didn't find any history on this same failure cause on this same equipment item and a remedial task for it. So we need to teach MaintSmart what it needs to do. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to pick Adjust Diverter. Okay, and that will be the remedial task for this breakdown cause on this equipment. Now in the future, if we enter this same breakdown cause, MaintSmart will automatically use this task. If we have multiple possible tasks that could be used to repair that breakdown, then it will prompt us with those tasks and also give us the opportunity to enter one new task. So in this case, I'm going to check this checkbox. That will associate this remedial task with this breakdown cause, and then I'll click the button. And you'll notice that I did indeed get a work order come up. There it is. And it also linked it to this downtime, and it put the comments in that I put in there. Okay, so that's another way to semi-automatically create a work order. Now let's go to the next way. I'm going to go to the PM screen. In the PM screen, we have the quick and dirty calendar-based PMs, and this just gives us a real basic list format, and I'll just go ahead and bring this up real quick in a print preview. And it's quite a few tasks on one sheet, and in a lot of cases that's what you want, and it works very well the way it's set up. But there may be a situation where actually what we want to do is create a work order from this PM. So I can select the PM, right click on it, and say link each selected PM to a separate work order. Now if we'd selected multiple, it would create multiple work orders all at once. I'm just going to do one. When I do that, notice it says it created work order number 321. Okay, so let's go back and just make sure. Back to the work order screen, and sure enough, there's work order 321. Okay, so there's another way to semi-automatically create a work order. All right, let's go to the last way, and I'm going to go ahead and delete some of this. Just get it out of my screen here, clear things up a bit. And let's do this. Okay, here's my original work order I manually created with its details and its file attachments and so on. Now what I want to do is I'm going to create what we call a work order template from this work order. Now what a work order template is essentially a boilerplate copy of this work order. And when I right click on here and I pick from the context menu create work order template, it popped up this screen, which gives me the opportunity to give this template a name. Okay, and by default it just uses the equipment name and the task and puts them together. And I'm just going to go with that. So I say OK, and the row's still selected. I don't really see anything else that happened, so I'm just going to hit cancel. So what happened was, if I go to my templates menu item and I go to manage work order templates, I'll see that I now have a work order template in here. Now the manage work order templates screen gives you the opportunity to modify this template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change this a little bit. I'm going to call this a schedule type, because I'm going to use a schedule to trigger this in a moment. And I could put some other things in here, but you'll notice I have the details and the file attachment. They all came with it. So I'll save my minor change there. Okay, so now how do I use this template? Okay, think of the template as a cookie cutter. Every time it gets triggered, it's going to create an identical work order from itself. It'll have a new work order number and new start and due date. But other than that, it'll be identical. So we could do it manually from here by going to the templates, create work order template menu item, and there's our template. Now if we had a bunch of those lined up here, we could check all the ones we wanted to create and click create work order. It would create them all at once. Okay, and you'll notice here it popped over here and said parts usage list. You can link parts to a template and they'll automatically draw down from stock. We're not going to cover that in this video. Okay, so it did create a copy of our template. Okay, all right, so that's a manual or semi-automatic, I guess I could call it. So let me delete that, just to get it out of our way. All right, so now I'm going to go to the fully automatic way to create a work order from a template. So I'm going to exit this screen, and notice our last work order was 318. And I'm going to go over to my print scheduler. And from here, and there's other videos that cover the finer details of this, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. I'm going to create a print job, and a print job or email job, it could do either, consists of three main parts. Okay, it's a where to print, which is your printer or your email recipients, a when to print, which is your schedule, and then a what to print, and that's going to be the report. In this case, it's going to be a work order. So I'll do a where to print, and I'll call it shop, and then I need to pick a printer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a print emulator called Snagit 11, and I'll say OK. I'll save that. And then my schedule, I'll create a schedule, I'll call it the WOT, work order template test. Yeah, that's not a very good name. The schedule should actually say when it's going to trigger. So let's call it Friday, 8 a.m. Okay? All right, so print every Friday at 8 a.m. and I'll save it. So I have the Friday at 8 a.m. schedule. Now what to print? Click New. Now I'm going to do a print job, but I could do email. And I'll call it the conveyor service. Okay, that's the name of the print job. And I'm going to use the Friday at 8 schedule. And I'm going to use the shop printer. And in this case, I'm not going to use an existing or new report definition. I'm going to use a work order from a template. And there's my template. Okay, now I can pick a work order format. I'll go ahead and pick the detailed with parts. And I'll go ahead and I'll check these two options and click Save. And I can see by looking at this that on the 23rd of August 2019, which apparently is Friday, at 8 a.m., this is going to trigger and create a new work order for us and send it to our printer. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to turn on our print scanner, print/email scanner. And that's done from the program configuration screen right here. Okay, configuration more. And again, there's other videos on this topic, so I'm going through this fairly quickly. Also, I'd like to point out that if you want more information, just simply call, chat, or email, and we can do an online demo with you and walk through this at a more appropriate speed, I should say. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the scheduled scanner. So this is going to be looking for print jobs. All right, and at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and jump start this. So if I click on the row, notice I get this little button here in the next print date time. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to backdate this. Now it's the 22nd. It's the day before it was scheduled to print. So anything before should get picked up by the scanner, and it should generate a new work order for us and add it to the work order screen. So we can see on this screen the next print date time, and what's going to happen on this is it's going to at some point go ahead and update this to 8/23 or 8/20, yes, 8/23, which is next Friday. So I see my cursor going there, this number, there it goes, it just changed. All right, so and it sent that work order to the printer, which should come up on my print emulator, and there it is. It's a little bit on the big side. Let me shrink it down so we can see it in this video. So there it is. There's our new work order that just came up. And as you can see, this would have gone straight to the printer. All right. It's work order 319. And if we go over here, our work order screen, sure enough, there it is. Now, if you don't want it to come up on your printer and just add it to the work order screen, you can do that. Okay, so either way works. So that's a fully automatic work order. All right, there's another way to create a fully automatic work order, and that's from the meter screen. Oh, wrong screen. The meter screen. Okay, so what is a meter? All right, a meter is a unit value pair of anything you want to define. So if you look at our meter definitions, here we have one called 50 cycles, we have one called 7 days. We could create a new one called 10 cuts. Every 10 cuts, do something. Now we could have up to 6 different values in here. Whichever one hits first is the one that will generate the work order from the template automatically. To define your units, just go to Options. You can add all the units you want. Okay, so once we have that, we'll link that meter, we'll use the 10 cuts, to our one and only template. Okay, they're now linked. All right, and then I'll go to my meter readings, and I'll pick the equipment that the meter, that the work order template rather, is attached to, and therefore the meter is going to be read from. Okay, so MainSmart extracted the equipment from the work order template. It knew what equipment was on that work order template. The actual meter is on the equipment itself, not on the work order. Okay, so we're going to use the only value we have, and we'll give it a current reading. We'll say 2, and the last performed is 0. So what does that mean? What that means is, right now the reading on that, let's say there's a meter that measures every time it performs a cut. Right now it reads 2. The last time we did the work on this work order, it was at 0, okay? All right, so there is one last step to this. We just do this once, just like with the meter, or the schedule scanner rather. We also need to turn on the meter scanner, okay? And I'm just going to turn all these on. I'll exit, and when I exit, it saves them. So what's going to happen is, once our current reading exceeds our last performed value by 10 or more, since this is a 10 cut meter for the value, it will generate a new work order from the template. So what we need to do here is change this. Let's call it 12 and apply it. Okay, so now MainSmart is looking for any meters that are expired. Okay, that's a term we can use. It's reached its threshold, you could say. And it's going to go ahead and generate the work order from this. Now what will happen is your in progress will be checked, and then it will add a new work order. And I believe we had it set to also print the work order. I don't remember, but in any event, we can go back to the work order screen and look. Now the other nice thing about this, and I'm not going to cover this in this video, is we can link our meters to OPC compliant data links. Okay, so what are those? Okay, well, all of your PLCs, your HMIs, and all of your other, okay, there's our work order, just came up automatically. All of the, basically the computers that run equipment nowadays, the industrial environment, and other environments, not just industrial, they use a protocol called OPC. And OPC can be read by the MainSmart program. So you can actually set up these links. It's very simple to do, actually. And have your equipment actually telling MainSmart when it needs a work order. Now that's a powerful system. You only have to do it once. You'll always have the maintenance done at the right time by having your equipment tell the program when it needs work. Okay, so you can see we're in progress. That prevents us from duplicating this job. So it won't uncheck that until we close the work order. So if I go back to my work order screen, I'll see, oh, okay, I have this new work order right there. Sure enough, that's what it was created. Now what I might do in this case is actually create a template, a separate one for meters with a metered type. That way I know where it came from. But this is fine. You can see it worked. It did create the work order for us. And now what I'm going to do is close it. So I go to my meters menu, and I'm going to set an option here. I don't want it to prompt me for the current and last performed readings for the meter every time I close the work order. I want it to go ahead and automatically close it. So basically I'm going to say it's always done when it's supposed to be. All right, so put in some labor hours, say it's done, and I save it. Well, I got to modify the date slightly. Let me move this back a little bit. All right, there we go. So we closed that out. And once we closed it, what happens now is it automatically is no longer in progress. And as you can see, it did input the right values for us. Okay, so there you have it. 7 different ways to create work orders manually, semi-automatically, or fully automatically. Thanks for watching.